Hey there, Jaguars, and welcome to Jaguar Talk. Are you ready to build a strong resume? I hope you are, because today I want to share with you how our Career and Employer Services Department can help you find just the right job for you. As always, I have invited a very special guest for today's topic. It is with great excitement that I welcome Michelle Sierra, Coordinator of Career Services. Welcome to Jaguar Talk, Michelle.
Hello, my friend. Thank you for having me.
How have you been?
I've been as well as I can be in the middle of this crazy quarantine, certainly a first for all of us at South Texas College.
So Michelle, jumping right into topic, can you tell us about your department?
So the Office of Career and Employer Services helps to facilitate a successful transition from student life to career life. And so that really encompasses a great amount of detail focused on career explorations, helping students identify and understand their programs, being excited about the learning, and then how that becomes part of careers. And so that's what we do. We really try to become the alpha and omega for students and really make sure that they contribute to regional prosperity.
So how are you helping students throughout this pandemic?
So one thing that we've really seen an uptick in our services really has been a reevaluation of their career goals. And so that hasn't changed by much for a lot of students, because when you really want to do something, you really want to do that. So our services have really then tailored around helping students see that job projection for the next 10 years and helping them feel confident that the programs of interest, that the career options that they're pursuing are still viable for success within the next 5 or 10 years. We're also really still focused on a lot of our services that we typically provide, which is the mock interviews, resume development, and that has really become part of our motivation to make sure that we continue robust programs like the Career Exploration Day, the Threads Community Closet, and the Career Expo.
So one of the services that I'm more interested in is the career coach, because I feel like most of us, when we start college, we're kind of like jumping all over the place, right?
Yeah.
We don't know exactly what we want to do. And for example, myself, I started with radiology, and then, after I took my biology courses, I realized, that wasn't really for me. And so, from there, I moved into psychology, and then after psychology, I went into organizational leadership. And that's where I realized, this is what I like, this is what I want to do, and that's why I'm here today, right?
Absolutely.
But I feel like that's one of the tools that can really help students like pinpoint, these are my interests, and this is how I can apply them to a career.
Frank, I'm so glad that you pointed that out. That's actually experience that a lot of professionals can speak to, and it's not one that is encouraged. And so one of the languages or one of the falsehoods is that you have to pick a degree and that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Career Coach in our area helps students understand that although they could be excited for a few things, like you were, that some careers actually fall in an umbrella. And so I've made the reference a dozen times of, computer science. That was mine. I don't do computer science now. But so that students can see that education is foundational to success. And it's not so much about the degree title as much as what the learning is. And so if they come into a classroom with an instructor who's really excited about computer science or radiology, it really is that enthusiasm from the instructor, those conversations with those peers, and helping students navigate and understand that there's different career paths within that area is really what career services is about. And so they don't feel pigeonholed to one specific outcome. And that certainly needs to be part of the language, because now more than ever, there needs to be a similar career. There needs to be an alternative, a plan B, if you would. Anything that this year has really shown us is that what we're learning in these classrooms, what education is, what South Texas College is part of a resilient skill set that helps our students see the learning and then part of how that becomes part of a successful career.
So how do you help students develop new skills for their jobs?
Well, we coined them new skills because a lot of the time in these conversations with career services, students say, I didn't think about it that way, or I hadn't realized I could do something like this. And this happens 100 times within these interactions. And so what's really exciting is to be able to sit down with our students, talk about the work that they have enjoyed, if they have had that career experience, or parts of the learning that really brought something out in them, that made them really curious and excited to continue to learn or to pursue that type of career. And so in understanding new skill sets, we help students understand how apples can also be oranges. And so in one particular case, we had a student who went through nursing school, didn't really enjoy nursing after graduation. And so then that evolved, right? After she connected with our services, that evolved into actually teaching CPR to healthcare professionals rather than being on the medical floor. And so that made a world of difference for her. She still had to be a nurse, she still had to have a degree, but it was a new level of those resilient skill sets that helped her understand or have that opportunity for a different type of career within that area. And so we help students understand this, especially if they're returning to South Texas College after 10, 15 years in the workforce, or working parents, students who come from large families, who really understand about how sometimes there needs to be alternatives. There needs to be the opportunity to evolve and grow. And if you're not doing that in the learning, it's a really huge disservice to your investment here at the college and what you dream of yourself and the example that you can be for others.
So at the moment, because of everything that's going on, how are your services being provided to the students?
Well, we're happy to provide students a safe, appointment, and that is, following CDC guidelines with the face masks 6 feet apart. We have an open lab at our Pecan campus, but our services are campus-wide. So if we have students who really feel enthusiastic about maybe wanting to get a professional headshot at Stark County campus, which is also something that we do, we're happy to do that. We have really remained on our virtual platforms, and so we made sure that we were able to equip all of our staff, with cameras and a way to connect with students virtually, and that's just something that it felt very natural. All of our services indeed are actually provided online, so it was a smooth transition for our office and our staff.
And especially now that people are having to rely on Zoom calls and all that stuff, it's kind of a good practice, right? To have the students actually, connect with you even through webcam.
Absolutely. And so this is important, and it's part of the learning. Every challenge is a learning experience, not just for our students, but for how we then are able to provide services to our students, efficient services to our students, and not just our students, but our industry partners, our community partners who are invested in the success of our students, who are looking for Jaguar talent. And so this has really prepared a whole spectrum of services from the student to the industry partner to make sure that we are preparing them successfully to then interview virtually with employers, or to see opportunities, that they learn that etiquette within our office and our services, and so that it really then mirrors what they're to expect after graduation.
So how are you helping students find successful jobs after graduation?
So that really begins before graduation. On average, it takes, and this was data before the pandemic, 6 months to a year to find gainful employment related to your degree. So for that, we really connect with our faculty, really make sure that our services are available to students, that we have that introduction in the classroom to tell students that this is going to come sooner than later, that it's something that they have to actively prepare for, that it is the most important homework of their lives to really ensure that they see those connections and maybe don't flounder and take a guess at what they should be doing next, if that's whether they want to pursue another degree or if indeed they want to start that job search. So one of the things that we do once we make them aware is to really introduce them to College Central Network. That's an online job board platform that has over 8,000 active employers, not just here locally, but state and at the national level as well. And so when students create a profile through College Central Network. They can develop a resume. They have that resume critiqued, so it's not just a guess at what how to develop a resume if they've never done that before. They get our help the entire way. They get those connections between the program and those opportunities in those careers, and so that they start applying early, or that they also understand what that job market looks like.
And so one of the things that I'm interested is, how are you guys doing your career fairs now?
So our career fair, we wanted to make sure that that was something that we could keep up with. That's really instrumental to making sure our students have those connections with industry partners, that they see those opportunities. I love to use the example that we had an ambulance company on campus one time. This was before the pandemic, and students didn't typically think, well, I'm not a paramedic, I'm not a nursing student, why would that be a job? They were looking for actual technicians, mechanics for the actual ambulances. And so students sometimes don't see these opportunities, they take it for face value, and so these career expos really bring to light some of these opportunities. And so we are having in the spring a career expo that will bring together industry partners and our students as they transition either into the world of work, or maybe they want to explore options to continue to get another degree with South Texas College, or to find out about transfer services. And that's something that's going to unfold in the spring.
So what services do you think students should be taking advantage of right now?
Well, if anything this year has shown us is that we really need to be prepared. And when you think about your future, when you think about what you're investing here at South Texas College in the learning, in the classrooms, whether that's time or money, career services, I believe, is something that really students should invest into their year-to-year learning. So that planning should come from whether you're just coming back to college, this is your first year in college, you want to change your major, to really take advantage of that career assessment tool. It doesn't only show you, like, yes, here are some programs that you should be interested in that align with your strengths and interests, right? Because your personality becomes part of your work. And so one of the things that that career assessment does is give you your top 3 traits. And so you understand how you bring value to teams and to organizations, how then that unfolds in the learning process. That also gives you labor market information. So it'll give you job projections. It'll give you wages. One of the big motivators for people coming to college is that they're going to get a very successful career, and it's going to pay them a lot of money. And so we help to make sure that students aren't disillusioned about what those expectations are going to be. Also, one of the things that really has become helpful to students is our Threads community closet. So our students, for the most part, live in Ninja Turtle pajamas for 2-4 years. And so the career closet really is professional attire. We've gotten some really great suits for both men and women, a variety of sizes. And that's free to students while they're still enrolled. So that's something we really want them to take advantage of, because it's, professional clothing is expensive, and it's not like you can walk into the mall these days anyway. The other thing that we really want them to take advantage of course, is the, enrolling in the College Central Network because of the resume development. A lot of the times we feel like, well, the resume should tell them everything that I've been doing. But a lot of students aren't in the practice, or professionals even aren't in the practice, to have the resume speak to your potential. So we don't see this flat line or plateau in career opportunities, that if you've always been a cashier, then that's what you should probably start off. And sometimes students feel like that even after they've completed a degree. So if I was going to say the top 3 things that they really need to do is to really make sure that they connect with that career assessment, that they understand our services are really a spectrum from student to career, and then also helping them navigate the job search even after graduation. So College Central is available, and our services are available to students even after graduation.
So is there any other information you want to share with students?
Gosh, I love to talk. So when students have questions about how part of the learning is going to be, how much math do I really need to be in this profession? We can answer little things like that from time to time. We have really good boyfriend and girlfriend advice. But also make sure that you're following us on our social medias. We try to really make sure that we're connecting with students on all platforms, at all levels of learning. at all stages of where they're at in their lives. And so really to make sure that we're here, we're happy and excited to help. And this isn't just a homework assignment for us. So a lot of our students will connect with us because the teacher told them to come or the teacher told them to do that. But we make this really real about their goals, about their purpose. And so we're really driven by that. And so that's something that's at the core of the work that we do.
Thank you, Michelle, for being here today, and I hope to see you next time.
Absolutely, Frank. Thanks for having me.
Don't forget to follow us on social media with the handle STC Jaguars, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever other platform we have. It's always going to be the same handle. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, Jaguars, stay exceptional and keep on learning.